You're listening to Real Folk with me, Jo Burke.
Hello and welcome to Real Folk. And with me today is the wonderful Andy Elias. Andy and I go back fair way. We met at Goldsmiths. He's a filmmaker, he's an actor, and he's won his short films have won some awards. So we'll talk about those. And he's also a teacher. So welcome on board, Andy.
Thank you for having me.
So Andy, let's start at the beginning. Regale us with how we both ended up in the same place.
Goldsmiths, yeah. Well, I kind of ended up in Southeast London because a girlfriend at the time was living there, and I basically moved in with her and found myself in New Cross. I was kind of on the fringes of the film industry, and I thought, I need to up my game a little bit. What can I do? Perhaps I'll do an acting class. And I saw the one advertised at Goldsmiths, and I thought, oh, that looks good. And went along, and it was good. Really enjoyed it.
It was amazing, wasn't it? Did you do 1 or 2 years? I can't remember.
I did 2 years.
Yeah, because I was still working, and I assume you were.
Yeah, I was driving a van at the time. I was doing my deliveries. So
that's right, your fish delivery.
That's right, yeah. So it fitted in nicely with my work. I'd get up early and drive the van, and then I'd be free pretty much all afternoon and evening.
There were so many diverse people there. I can remember when, once we finally all got to know each other, the great thing about Goldsmiths was, I was quite long in the tooth. I was 27 when I decided to go and train as an actor. I don't know, how old were you?
I think I was the same age, actually.
Oh,
how old
really?
are you now?
100.
Oh, shouldn't I ask that?
Yeah,
I was born at the tail end of the 60s.
So
I guess. Yeah, I might have been a bit older than you, actually.
You're a bit older than me, yeah. Thanks for outing me, though, so unkindly. In public, it's fine. It's fine. I'll still speak to you.
Yeah, no, I think I must have been pushing 30.
Yeah, well, I think that would probably surprise a lot of people as well, because I think that's one of the things that I'm sort of keen to advocate on these podcasts is that, it's never too late to do anything. And, 27 is quite old to suddenly go, I'm going to go part-time and become an actor. And there were people there older than us on the course, as well as obviously people much younger. But in a way, that was a really interesting, that's what makes it more interesting than doing it at the time when everybody's learning, isn't it, I think? So did you leave, you left Goldsmiths and went off and did what?
Sweet FA, really. Just kind of... Yeah, just carried on driving my van. No, I kind of did a bit of fringe theatre work and the odd bit of film work. And then actually, that was when Richard, who obviously we know, who was on the course with us, me and him got together and we made a short film. And that was the start of Ciao Handy.
That's your production company.
That's right.
That was Syrup, did you say? That was...
Yeah, that was Syrup. That was, we shot on 16 mils, so we shot that on film. Which at the time, the budget for that was £1,000, and that was purely on the film stock and the processing. I mean, you wouldn't imagine spending £1,000 today on a 5-minute short. Or actually, no, some people do. Some people spend like 20 grand on a 5-minute short. God knows why.
No, well, it's not necessary. That's what we're saying, isn't it? But that was expensive because it was on actual film rather than anything.
Yeah,
easier.
Rather than digital. So yeah, that was the birth of Ciao Handy. From Goldsmiths, essentially.
That's amazing, isn't it? And did Syrup win any awards, or did it get up for some awards? Or
yeah, actually, it's screened at the ICA in London, which is incredible. I think it's the best screening that we've ever had of any of our films, because it's such a prestigious place. It's on the Mall there, and it's just a fantastic cinema. But it didn't win anything. But I think, if I remember rightly, I remember the presenter saying that we were an audience favourite. But that might have been because there was a lot of us there and we were very loud.
Because you were the audience.
Yeah, we were the audience. We bought up all the tickets.
But since starting Ciao Handy, you've made a number of films, including one called The Numbers. What's been your favourite to work on, and what's been sort of perceived to be the most successful?
Well, actually, the most successful was Life's a Bench. And that was the one, I just shot it on a GoPro one morning. I just went out for a walk around Littlehampton and just kind of filmed myself, just set it up on a tripod, pressed record, jumped in front of it. And then I edited it on a work laptop. That one, it won $250 in America. I'd instantly made money from it. Then it was shown on local TV in Brighton. It was screened at a film festival in Wimbledon. So that, yeah, I would say that for what it was, it's only 1 minute 30 seconds long. That was my most successful film.
But also that's so encouraging, isn't it? Because to anyone starting out, you know, when you're starting out, it's hard to have, you don't feel like you've got the right equipment or enough people, but that was literally you, a GoPro and an old laptop, and it managed to be something that is, you know, incredibly popular.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we can all give ourselves excuses as to why we don't do things. And, you know, I could have said, oh, I'm going to wait for save up and get a decent camera, and I'm going to get a microphone, I'm going to do it all properly. But I just thought, oh, I'll just do it and just see what happens. And there's no excuse now. You've got phones which have got incredible cameras on them, and you can edit on a phone. So if you've got an idea in your head, it's the story that counts. And I think people connect with the stories. They're not really that fussed about the technology.
Yeah, I agree. I think people can forgive you the odd editing blip or sound, you know, wobble if the content is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then what was the first sort of feature length? Because they were two shorts. What was the first feature length one that you actually did? Was that the Numbers?
Well, yeah, the Numbers. I mean, it's barely feature length. I think the Oscars or whoever, one of these American bodies, says a feature length film is over 45 minutes long, and the Numbers is at 48 minutes. So we just kind of scraped over that. But some film festivals still wouldn't accept it less than 60 minutes. So by all intents and purposes, it is a feature length film. But it started off as a short, and I just kind of got carried away and kept putting more things in it. And eventually it became over 45 minutes. So I guess it fell into that feature bracket.
Yeah. And that's available on, is it Netflix or Amazon? I could forget which one.
On Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah. So it's free if you've got Prime. You just watch it. I mean, Amazon's been a bit of a game changer like that. And to be honest, I don't really support companies like Amazon because I know about the nefarious tax businesses, but it didn't cost me a penny to upload the film on there. And I mean, they take a big chunk of profits if it makes any profits.
You do sell your soul to them.
You know, yeah. But it's there for people to see, and I couldn't afford to get a DVD made or anything like that. So I just thought, oh, it's free to put up. I've got a bit of time. I can work out the specs, and I just put it up on Amazon, and it's just there. If anyone wants to watch it, they can just, you know, scroll through, and eventually it'll probably show up.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing with them, and you know, I'm with you totally on the not paying tax properly, and obviously not notoriously not being great to their employees. But when you are small and starting out, you've got no other way of distributing your stuff otherwise, have you? It's very, very hard to get small independent films out there.
Well, it is now. I think I think it was easier back in the 80s and 90s. I think it was. Someone wrote a review of the Numbers actually, and he said films like the Numbers deserve a proper cinematic release rather than wallowing in digital download. And I thought that was a really nice quote to put on it, because I guess if we brought the Numbers out in the 80s or 90s, it may have had a short cinema release, you know.
Yeah.
So we are kind of, I think there's so many more people now making films, and it's so much more accessible, and you can cut out the middleman and go straight onto places like Amazon, just upload it. Yeah. But are you selling your soul? You know, I do feel like a bit of a hypocrite, really, that I should have released it on DVD myself, but I didn't have the money. So the bottom line was, it was either that or it would just sit in obscurity forever.
Yeah, you're sort of a living room legend.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is good for no one. So no, it's definitely the obvious choice, and Netflix as well obviously does the same sort of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think it was kind of nice for the actors. That was my driving thing. That, you know, the actors in the Numbers, yourself included, Jo, put in really good...
I happen to pop up in that one, don't I?
Yeah, you are in that. But all the reviews, no matter what they thought of the film as a whole, all say the acting was superb. So the actors really brought a lot of value to the Numbers, and I kind of think it's nice for them to have somewhere where someone says, "Oh, what have you been in?" Because it's that classic opening line, isn't it?
Yes,
when you meet an actor. What would I have seen you in? You could say, well, I'm in a film that's on Amazon, you know, and you could direct them to it.
Yeah.
So it's just there, you know. You
did do a really nice thing as well, I thought, which was in actually it's not your hometown, is it? But in Worthing, you did a really lovely preview screening of it, didn't you? Which was great.
Yeah, again, I don't really subscribe to this thing of being part of the industry. I think you can create your own industry. So if we wanted to have a big screen screening of the numbers in a lovely cinema, I thought, well, why not? Let's just do it. And it's just nice for everyone to see themselves, particularly actors, on the big screen.
Mm.
And it's nice to have the opportunity to have a photo taken on a red carpet and to be with enthusiastic people as well that enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it was a really fantastic night. And what's also nice as well when you do that is you did a Q&A session, which was really interesting.
Yeah, well, again, I think it's nice for the actors to say how they were involved in it. And I think pretty much everyone that was in the numbers, apart from Jess, who played the waitress, I'd worked with before. So I kind of had a relationship with everyone, which really helps in filmmaking, I think.
I think so. It really does, because there's a sort of shorthand that you just can't do if you're not familiar with people. You just kind of everyone just kind of gets it, don't they?
Exactly. I was talking about with another filmmaker about this the other day, actually, and we use that exact words, shorthand, so you don't have to, sit down and explain everything to someone. You can really crack on, and time is money when you're working on an indie film. So
Exactly right. And talking about that, you're working on your next one, are you not?
yeah, we just started. We started filming last week.
And what's it called?
Tales from the Great War.
And are you in this one?
Yeah, I'm in it. I'm in one of the stories. I mean, what we shot last week was it's a short story that's within another story, and it's quite complex in that all the stories are intertwined. But again, this wasn't out of vanity reasons that I cast myself. It's just that I'm cheap, so I don't have to pay myself. I can just do it.
Well,
And
it
again,
matters, doesn't it?
yeah, I don't have to explain to an actor, and I don't have to talk about motivation or anything. I can just go and do it myself. Obviously, I can't play all the characters, but I thought because of the whole lockdown situation, this is quite an easy one that I could do. And yeah, I'm really pleased with the results. Actually, came out really well.
Fabulous. So where are you shooting it, or is it in multiple locations?
Multiple locations, because again, we don't like to make things easy.
Of
And
course not, Andrew.
yeah, it'd be too simple. And this one, actually, I thought it'd be really simple just to film in a woods, but actually, it was a complete headache. I approached various bodies that owned woods, government bodies, etc. Filled in all their criteria, lots of risk assessments, liability insurance, everything, only to be told that it was going to cost a fortune. And then a wonderful local museum, the Amberley Working Museum, I contacted them and they were like, yeah, come along. And they were just so good, and they were just so accommodating, and there was no
Oh,
red tape or anything. So we
fabulous.
spent a good few hours there filming in their little section of woods that they've got, which was brilliant.
Oh, amazing. I mean, the numbers is actually sort of three intertwining stories. So is this a theme now in your work?
Yeah, I kind of like that. I like the idea of, I've always liked anthology films anyway, and anthology books. And yeah, I just like the nature of having separate stories. So we're seeing things from people's different points of view, but there are some kind of connections.
When will it be finished and released, do you think, this one?
Well, the
Mm.
aim is to have it all in the can at the end of next summer. I mean, obviously the lockdown has kind of put the brakes on a little bit. So what we're doing is this first story, we're going to release a little teaser for it later this year, and it's the story itself is going to screen at the Horror on Sea Film Festival in January,
Oh,
and then
fabulous.
we're going to shoot the rest after that. We got a lot of scenes that are set in the trenches in World War One, so that's a bit of a logistical headache, but I
I
think
bet.
it's all doable.
Yeah, because I think I saw on Facebook some of the shots, stills from whatever you were shooting the other day, and I was like, "Oh, that looks interesting." So, have you got two things that you mentioned, the Horror on Sea? So what is that, and where is that? Just in case anybody would like to take part or attend.
Yeah, that was. I mean, with the numbers, I'd basically written it off after we made it. I was quite ill, and so I didn't really get a chance to distribute it the way I wanted to. It was on Amazon, but that was about it. And I kind of written off sending it to film festivals because they all charge quite a hefty fee, or most of them charge a hefty
Mm.
fee for a feature-length film. And then chances are it's not going to get selected anyway. So it almost feels like you're throwing money away. But a friend of mine, another actor called James Devereaux, recommended this. He sent me the link. He said, try this film festival. It's in Southend. It's like indie horror film festival. And they don't charge an entrance fee, a submission fee. So I submitted it to them and they said, yeah, it's been accepted. We're screening it. It's a film festival that's held in this hotel right overlooking Southend Pier. So it's fantastic. And we went along to the festival and we were screening at 10 a.m. in the morning. And I really didn't think anyone would show up to watch it at that time in the morning. But the place was packed and they were a really friendly, supportive audience. And loads of people came up to me and wanted to talk about the film afterwards. They don't do awards either. So there's no competition. It's just a friendly kind of vibe there. And everyone's there for the same reason, to watch low budget horror movies.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, yeah. Really good festival. It's happening the first 2 weekends of January, I believe, 2021.
You mentioned just briefly there, just after you'd filmed the numbers that you became ill. I don't know if you're sort of happy to talk about that sort of part of your life and how that happened and what happened there.
Yeah, so I mean, just after the screening of the numbers, in fact, I mean, I had it there. I had a small lump on my neck. It was about the size of a 10p. And I thought, this is a bit odd. Anyway, I went to the doctors and they referred me straight away, and it was a cancerous tumour and it grew really aggressively. So they had to get it out straight away. So I was admitted into hospital and they took it out, and it was 8 centimetres by the time they took it out. It kind of, because it had grown so big, it had taken away, they had to remove some of the nerves on my face as well. So the left side of my face was completely paralysed. When I came out, that I had to have 6 weeks of radiotherapy, which is like targeted treatment of the neck area, and 6 weeks of chemotherapy as well. So that was all pretty full on for a few months. And then obviously I've had a few operations since as well, where they've done various nerve transplants and skin grafts, etc. But they've been brilliant.
How long did you spend in hospital?
About a month, all in all. Give or take, a few days for one operation, a few days for the next operation, etc. And that's not including time spent at the cancer centre. I mean, that probably bump up even more.
I'm assuming when we were filming the numbers, did you know then that you had the lump or not?
No, it was literally, it just appeared out of nowhere. And it must, shortly after the premiere. Yeah, in fact, the weekend before I went into hospital for the op to have it removed, it kind of erupted out of my neck. It was like a volcano erupting.
Oh my God. It's like that film, How to Get Ahead in Advertising.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking there's this horror film called The Manitou, which is an old 70s horror that has Tony Curtis in it. He has something growing in his neck that basically climbs out.
Oh my God.
So I was thinking, here we go.
I mean, we're joking about it now and it's easy to after the event, but I mean, that must have been absolutely terrifying because you're relatively young and you've got a family and, everything was just sort of going dandy, having a premiere of a feature-length film, and then suddenly you've got this. How did you cope, or did you just take each day at a time?
Yeah, just got to, I just kind of thought, well, I just got to get on with it. There's not a lot I can do, really. It's just one of those things, isn't it? There's people in far worse conditions than me. There's children that suffer from all sorts of horrible things and have been growing up in war-torn countries. So I just kind of thought, well, the doctors, they seem to know what they're doing. I put a bit of trust in them, and they were all brilliant. All of the doctors and nurses were fantastic. So just kind of, just took it one step at a time. I mean, actually, bizarrely, I kind of quite enjoyed the time out of life, if that sounds... It probably sounds
that's strange,
wrong.
because a lot of people have said that about the lockdown as well, haven't they? I think possibly it's a similar thing. In your case, obviously, you were forced to do nothing and to recuperate and to, have time. When we had this lockdown, suddenly everyone, not because of any illness or any other reason, just had time. We all just had this time on our hands.
Yeah, it is. I must admit, I didn't think I'd have so much time again so soon. I'd literally just gone back to work and I was phasing myself in. And then back in March, it was just like, oh no, we're closing the schools. What? Really?
In a way, that must be good for you though, because you're now a master at what to do with your time.
Well,
so you're
yeah.
way ahead everyone else.
I wouldn't go that far. You know, I end up running around fields dressed up as a World War One soldier. I mean, I'm not sure it's the most productive use of time, but there you go.
But I think it is. And the other thing you mentioned there is that, you know, you are a teacher.
I started off teaching drama, and I always feel a bit of a fraud anyway. I think I have imposter syndrome when I'm teaching, because I was a real nightmare at school. I had no interest in it, and I don't think I actually learned anything at school. I think everything I learned when I left school. So I kind of feel like it's either penance for giving my teachers such a hard time, or I feel like I'm an imposter. But I switched from teaching drama to teaching history. It's a lot easier than teaching drama history.
Probably because you didn't enjoy school, and I know you said you didn't learn anything at school you didn't learn anything at school but learned stuff after school. I reckon you're probably one of the most popular teachers, because I bet what you did learn at school was how not to be a boring, awful teacher.
Well, yeah, maybe that's what it is. Well, when I was doing teacher training, I remember this guy teaching us, saying, you've got to show real interest in the kids, you know, find out about what they're into, look up, you know, if they're into Xbox, find out all about the Xbox and that. I'm completely the opposite. I have no interest in their lives. I show complete disinterest in anything that they're interested in, and they seem to enjoy that. It seems to be a mutual.
They seem to get behind everything you're doing, because you're probably one of the most interesting teachers, I imagine. It's not every teacher that's running their own film company.
Well, it's funny because they're quite canny, these kids, aren't they? If you put anything online, they'll find it, no matter what you try to do to disguise it. You know, some kids found my YouTube channel at school, and when I first started out, I started doing the YouTube vlog every week, just to kind of get out and about, to recuperate from the illness.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really in front of the camera. And one of the kids at school said to me, "Oh, you know what you should do, sir? You should be in front of the camera. You shouldn't just be a voiceover. You should like host it." So I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's feedback. So I took his feedback, and I started putting myself in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And they constantly give me feedback, which is great, because they're brutally honest as well.
That's true, isn't it? Yeah, there's no hiding. But also that is a really good idea. And I can remember being in total admiration for you at the time, because I obviously knew that you just had, you know, some really awful surgery. And as you said, you know, your face was more paralyzed than it is now. You've done obviously wonders with physio and obviously other operations you've had since then. But to go on screen when you're not at your best, I mean, most people would be horrified at that, wouldn't they? But I think it was such a brave thing to do. And what's the vlog and your web address for people to check out your vlogs and all your work as well while we're here?
That's just on YouTube under the Ciao Handy channel. So you just type in Ciao Handy. There's only one of us that has such a ridiculous name.
So it's Ciao as in the Italian, CIA.
Yeah, as in and Handy as in my name, but with an H in front of it. And actually, that comes from. Do you remember Paolo? Did you ever meet Paolo?
Yes.
Richie's mate. That comes from him, because whenever he saw me, he'd go, "Ciao Handy," to say hello. So when Richard and I were starting off with Syrup, we thought, oh yeah, that'd be a great name for a company.
It is, though. It really is. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's got a little like high five, hasn't it, in the logo?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it is perfect. But so the vlogs, I suppose they were twofold. They were a thing to get you out and busy, but probably did you find that helped with your confidence? Because I mean, you must have had your confidence knocked after the operation and during your sort of rehabilitation.
Yeah, well, I remember Tina came in straight after the op, and she just started crying, and I was, oh my God, because I hadn't seen myself, and I thought, oh, it must be pretty bad. So I didn't look at myself in the mirror for about 3 days after the op. But I basically had a load of staples down the side of my face, and where they'd removed it. And because the face was paralyzed, it was all hanging down at one side as well. With my typical indie film brain, thought, oh, how can I utilize this face? There must be some way that I could do it. And that's what I've done with this latest film, actually. The guy gets shot in the neck. I thought, oh, yeah, I can play that part. He's been shot in the neck. That's great.
It's genius, yeah.
I utilize this. Yeah.
How can you make it work?
Yeah.
But that must have been terrifying for Tina, your wife. And what about your kids? How did they cope? Because obviously, I mean, kids usually take things in their stride, but obviously it's quite a difficult thing to see your dad go into hospital looking and sounding like your dad, and then coming out, not looking or sounding like your dad?
Yeah, I mean, they were really good, actually. They adapted to it really well. And I think it's sometimes harder for the people that are kind of standing by and watching, because when you're going through it, you've got people taking care of you. They're doing those things. But when you're watching, you can really have this feeling of helplessness. So I do feel for partners that have to kind of go through this as well, because it's not just, with me, it's fine. I have the treatment done. I know there's going to be a result, or there might not be a result, but either way, something's getting done. But for them, I guess there's a feeling of helplessness. But the kids, they took it really well. They're very matter of fact about it all.
Cool. And also the school kids, because obviously you must have been teaching some that you then carried on teaching.
On the whole, they're great. The little year sevens will just come up to me and go, "What happened to your face?" Or, and I kind of like that honesty. I like that. And then I can just say to them, "Well, yeah, I had a tumor and it was cancer." And they say, "Oh, cancer." And I said, "Yeah, but I've survived it. It's fine." Because I think, in their minds, they think cancer is fatal, and it is fatal for a lot of people, unfortunately. But there are a lot of people that survive it as well.
Yeah. And have you had an all clear for X amount of time now, or are you waiting for one of those, or do you have to go back, or?
Yeah, I go in every 2 months and they stick a camera up my nose and kind of have a little poke around and stuff. But I've had an all clear. I had one of those PET CT scans where they pump this kind of fluorescent stuff around you and they can detect if your body's got any. So yeah, I've got the all clear in that respect. So that's good.
Great news.
Positive.
Yeah, very positive. So now it's just more physio, still keeping up with the physio, because your speech has come on in leaps and bounds already, hasn't it? I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, just kind of it really has. Before, my voice was almost unrecognizable. In fact, actually, the vlogs, when I started the vlogs, I've got this really deep raspy voice, and now it's gone back to my kind of effete estuary-esque accent.
But I think that's great. That's what I love about those vlogs. And like I said to you, I remember at the time, because anyone going through anything, or anyone not, just logging on to look at your because your vlogs were basically reviews of other people's films, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted to get out there and support indie filmmakers, and because it's very hard to get an audience, as I well know from making the numbers, for a low budget indie film. So I thought, oh well, I can make this twofold. I can use it as rehabilitation to get me out of the house, and I'll see if I can find some really obscure films to dig out and review.
And you did.
Yeah, and I did. And actually, one of them was great. I just this random film called Clown Doll, which I saw. It was a premiere.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah. Clown Doll, I know. It is. And it was, the premiere was just off Cold Harbour Lane, near Brixton. And it was down this dead-end street, and there was burnt out cars and tyres, everything. I thought, what is this? And anyway, I went into this place and it was great. And then a few months later, I was on one of their film sets. They asked me if I wanted to come on the film set and just kind of mooch around for a bit. So yeah, it was great. So I made some really nice contacts through that.
I think that's the most inspiring thing of all, really, is that you were doing these indie films, and then obviously life took a bit of a left turn, and then you've gone back into doing what you love, initially supporting other people doing what you love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just I appreciate the work that's gone into it, and I appreciate that, and a lot of these indie films get slated on things like the Internet Movie Database. People will give them 1 star and say worst film ever, don't watch. And I think, well, actually, that was weeks and weeks of someone's hard work putting together a film. And yeah, it may not be your cup of tea, but there's no need to absolutely slate it.
No, it doesn't mean it's dreadful. It's just not what you like. And also the other thing I think that people forget, and I think it's the same with stand-up comedy as well. We put all our money they're all self-funded usually, and it's not just like you said, the time and the effort. It's most people hold down other jobs in order to do these things, or if they have got support, it's very minimal. So to just off the bat just give something 1 star without any thought into that is quite harsh, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I just don't think you can compare it against, something that Marvel's put out.
So it's not really a level playing field, is it, with the Marvel and
No,
comparison to?
exactly. Exactly. I just don't know what people are expecting. If they know they're going into to watch a low budget film, it's not going to have millions of dollars thrown at it. So
I think actually often with the larger budget films, for me personally, it's the scripts. The scripts are usually not very good in any of those. It just all relies on you being sort of completely, literally blown away by the special effects. And I think when you haven't got, and I think that's why a lot of indie films are brilliant and where they are better, is that, mostly all indie films have got is the script. So they tend to be better.
yeah, I'd agree. And I kind of think as well that we're seeing a bit of a tide turn at the moment because, we keep hearing about how that the film industry has really suffered due to the lockdown, etc. But indie films are still going on. They're still being made. I mean, I was involved in 3 last week, my own. On Tuesday, I was in Cheltenham for this fantastic filmmaker called Tom Lee Rutter, who's from Kidderminster, on his set. And then on Friday, I was in Godalming in Surrey on the set of another indie horror film, which was a night shoot. So it's thriving because they've always had to survive on little to no money anyway. So they're not dependent on these massive budgets and having cars pick people up and all that kind of paraphernalia that comes with it. They're just they're just cracking on.
Hopefully it's inspired some listeners, some budding movie makers. So basically you don't have to have anything more than your phone if you've got an idea.
That's all you need.
So let's just double check where we can find your vlog. That's on the Ciao Handy website.
It's on, you go to YouTube, type in Ciao Handy, or Twitter Ciao Handy, there's links, or Instagram Ciao Handy.
Cool. So that's where we can find you and check out all those bits and pieces. So good luck with The Great War.
Cheers, Jo.
When's it going to be released? In the middle of next year, do you think, or towards the end?
Probably towards the end of next year.
Cool. So we've got something to look forward to for 2021. Hurrah!
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Real Folk with me, Jo Burke.